There are millions of articles with AI benchmarks. Benchmarks are basically just comparisons, trying to figure out which AI is the best. It might be at mathematics, coding, writing, or even art, but no one has ever benchmarked the most important thing: how good an AI is at rebuilding a squad in FIFA career mode. Well, that's exactly what I'm here to do today. I've given 4 of the biggest AI companies the exact same data, and today we'll be comparing them to my very own FIFA brain to see which AI is the best to use as your next assistant manager. So, let's meet our AIs. First is the most famous, OpenAI's ChatGPT. I did a rebuild competition with ChatGPT about 12 months ago, and it was pretty good back then. They've updated their models since that video, and I'm looking forward to see how well it can do. Next is Deepseek AI, which is China's greatest AI export. Again, I've used it in a video before and it did pretty well, at least until it got sacked. For the first time, we're also using xAI's Grok, which was made by the guys over on Twitter, and also Anthropic's Claude AI, which is my personal favorite to use for coding. Can they rebuild clubs as well as they can generate images? Well, we're about to find out. I sent every single AI the exact same prompt. They received a text file with the club's information in, and another file with the top 600 rated players in FIFA, so they all had the exact same challenge. All of the AIs were told they had an €100 million budget, had to sell 5 players and buy 8 new ones. It's hard to force bids in career mode, so I'm just going to release any players they want to sell and give their market value as transfer funds with Cheat Engine. So, it's time to have a look at some of these rebuilt teams. I wanted to use a fairly big side that's in the mid-table at the moment, so VFB Stuttgart seemed perfect. With the extra £100 million budget, we should probably be able to become as good as Leipzig. We're going to be comparing the performances of every rebuild on the first day of every single month, and this time I've even remembered to turn off objectives and sacking. So Team ChatGPT looks something like this. I think this is the ultimate min-maxing squad. They've found that older players are very undervalued in career mode and gone hard on that one aspect. At one point, they were going to sign 4 goalkeepers, but managed to talk themselves out of it. And 5 years ago, this team probably would have been a Ballon d'Or nomination team, but Stuttgart have a real chance, unless these players start to age way too fast. Next up is Team Deepseek, and they've rebuilt to have this squad. You might notice that they only made 3 signings, but that's just because they were so dead set on signing Trubin, Adeyemi and Branthwaite that they kept trying to spend £250 million to sign all 8 players, but never really managed to get it below £100 million. It is a pretty nice squad, even if those signings aren't the most realistic. Claude's season was simulated 3rd, and their team was also pretty good. It's pretty clear that the Claude AI model is not great for this one task. It's smart, but can't really take in too much data at the same time. Because of this, they could only see 200 players, but the sales and purchases were actually pretty decent. I really did encourage them to try and come in under budget, and I'm looking forward to seeing Duran and Ekatike playing with Madueke and Sara playing behind them. And finally, Grok's squad looks like this. That's right, all 4 AIs decided that Zagadou should be sold, but this is actually probably the most balanced team of the 4. It's slightly younger than the ChatGPT version, but still managed to sign all 8 players. Maybe I set the budget a little bit too tight, or maybe there just weren't enough players in the text files that had low values, but the focus on older players is quite interesting to see. Maybe there's something there that career mode players are missing. Anyway, you want to see results, you don't want my opinions on AI, and with every squad updated, I check the league table at the end of every single month. It'll look like this: Grok on the top row, ChatGPT below, Claude 3rd and Deepseek at the bottom. I've also turned all transfers off for the entire save, so no AI team's going to be making any kind of changes either. So let's simulate to September. Here we are then, September the 1st. To be honest, looking at this, things are already going better than I expected. We're in the top 5 with every team. None of the teams have actually lost the match. 2 teams are on 6 points, 2 on 4 points. So it's a really close experiment, and things are just going well on the pitch. So you might be wondering, who has the current best unbeaten streak? Well, even as late as the 1st of October, Claude-powered Stuttgart was still going on one of these streaks. They did go on to lose to Sparta Prague, but they would lose 1 out of their first 10 games, and in fact 1 out of their first 16 games, which is crazy good for a team like Stuttgart. Could the worst AI at all have the best ball knowledge? Well, I think it's clear to say at this point that Grok is really not doing very well. 5 points in 5 games is terrible, while every other team is on double digits. A bad month in November for Deepseek means they're probably out of title contention, and if you look, Claude still hasn't actually lost a game. Crazy stuff in the league. So we're into the last month of the year, let's find out who is on top going into December. Well, with a decent amount of the season gone, 12 games played, it is clear there is 2 tiers going on here. It's Claude versus ChatGPT to try and win the whole thing, and then it's Deepseek fighting Grok to not come last. So the busiest month of the season has now been played, and that's the end of 2024. We're in January the 1st, and this is what the table looks like. It is actually a big month for all the teams, with the Champions League group stage finishing, but again, it looks like ChatGPT and Claude are miles out ahead, while Grok is still really struggling to win matches. 5 draws, 5 wins, and 5 losses from 15 games is not a great start. So we only have 4 months to go now in this experiment, and our table in February looks something like this. We'll have a look at how the squads are looking in a second, because there has actually been some pretty important development and I guess regressions going on in the squad. But Claude is actually pulling away and is in second place in the league, level on points with first place. We are now into March, and honestly, all 4 of these Stuttgart sides are in pretty good positions going into the last couple of months. Okay, maybe not all of them, because Deepseek have actually dropped into the second half of the table, but Claude is continuing a title push and ChatGPT isn't far behind. So before we look at April, I just thought I'd show this off. This was ChatGPT's team in July, and here it is now in March. Look how bad some of these players have gone down. Despite being third in the table, I think they're at a real risk of falling away and dropping down the table for the rest of the year, surely. Maybe spending all of that money on old players is not the strategy if you're going for glory over a single season. Anyway, we're down to just 2 months left now. How are we getting on in the tables? Well, obviously, the 2 teams that are in third place are doing pretty well. They're still in title battles, but the real comeback is from Grok, who have now managed to make their way back up to 6th place. It was actually in April that I noticed how bad the Deepseek AI was doing. They had no cup run, they were out of the Champions League in the group stages, and quite far down the table too. Maybe it's just an unlucky season for that Stuttgart, or maybe it's an early sign that Chinese AI isn't trained to have too much football knowledge. So this is it. The last time these teams can change around positions. The final ranking is coming up, and we have 3 games left to play. But are things close? Well, to be honest, with how many players we've signed for all these different kind of areas, I didn't think it would be this close. Grok could still end up winning this, especially as ChatGPT FC just seems to keep losing matches as their old players get worse and worse every week. In May, we nearly made history, the first trophy for an AI manager. It was actually Grok's team that made it to the Pokal final, and sure, they didn't have the best start to the season as we've seen, but they had a chance to win something. They didn't win the final, but this is proof that an AI team could go on to win something if you give them enough information. Or maybe you don't even need to do that, because Claude also reached the final, but had the same outcome. This time, it was a 1-0 loss to Frankfurt. So with 4 different strategies from 4 different AI companies, we have our winner. So, if we did this for a second season, I know things would turn out different because Grok went for potential and Deepseek also had some high potential players. But it was actually the Claude strategy of signing really good players like John Duran, Ekatike, Madweki, Gabriel Sara, and so many others that went on to win this. They had a lot of potential, but of course they, and more importantly for the simulation part of the game, had high overall because that's one of the only things that matters. ChatGPT coming in second place again, they probably wouldn't do so well in this season too, but they actually finished the highest out of everyone in the final league tables with a 4th place finish. Why don't you give this exact same rebuild a go? You can use AI if you want to, or just do it yourself and see if you can beat 67 points. If you can come back to this video and comment the amount of points that you got, that would be so cool to see if anyone can maybe reach 75 or even 80 and outperform the AIs by a huge amount. But thank you so much for watching. If you watched this far, you must be interested in AI rebuilds, so why not check out my Manchester United one and my Spurs one that are on screen right now. But thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Cheers and goodbye.